When the mortal realm's in need of destruction, you better call on the Lord of Seduction. End of the world, it's almost time, but I'm gonna do it right, the perfect crime. Sickly, sinful spectacles stand, shamble, shuffle and saunter shamelessly in mind's scandalized sight. I'm sure you know the rest. Yes, old unlucky Archie had got himself an infestation of unbearable undead, synchronized skeletons, and ever so tiresome evil bat creatures of various sizes. Even he was plagued by winged wazooks with a taste for the flesh of the eternally damned. But the brainless, brain-munching zombies had overlooked two key factors that Archie Boy had cleverly pocketed early on. One, he was fighting down a hill so steep that he had to erect a large network of pulleys and nets just to stop his men from falling straight down it, and two, he had an unlimited supply of cavalry, equipped with horses that had no problem running straight up that slope from the opposite direction, probably trying to get away from the endless "I was so wasted last night" stories from their state-sponging riders. The downside to the masterstroke was that undead creatures don't really understand the concept of being surrounded, so all the maneuver in the world couldn't convince them to lay down their arms, literally in some cases, and go home. Instead, we just had to re-kill them for the umpteenth time, and make sure their necromancer was dancing the dance of death amid a flurry of spears. Where have I heard that phrase before? Flurry of spears. Look, did we go to the same high school or something? Hardly anyone knew about that particular incident. Oh, forget it, for your own good. Now, the main problem we faced in this battle was the enemy's insistence on blasting us apart with dive-bombing flying squirrels after a bad trip to the dentist. Bodies flying everywhere, the usual affair. But the great thing about having a huge army of nobodies is that it just didn't matter if they died. No need to feel sad for the loss of a comrade, because literally no one cares. Adding to the cheer of that realization was the death of the enemy lord, finally succumbing after taking several thousand spear wounds all over his now 99% spear wound based physique, and going out with an unexplained attempt at a backflip. Vampires got no style and they got no grace, and don't get me started on his funny face. Without the Lord's dark magic keeping the dead animate, we quickly started to clear up our thriller hiller, leaving just a couple of pockets of corpse-lay activity to stamp out. Soon they all melted away in the warm glow of the mortal realm, many of them attempting a final backflip to close out the show, and of course failing without exception in a storm of clattering bones. Where have I heard that phrase before? Storm of clattering... Next! Someone who didn't attend Siggy Boy's after-school scandal society, if you please. The battle wasn't quite over, since more Omj-Zoms were on the way. They had their own dark wizard to keep them up, and he had cast even more magic over them to make them more nimble fighters than your average being with the muscle mass of a plastic spoon. He even had a horse that could, via its highly convincing arguments, cause my men to just explode in clouds of blood. Nasty, eh? But as before, their poor reanimated pus packs couldn't do much to avoid the reckless driving of my careerless careerers. And then, they all died. Now that's really the end of the story. They just backflopped their way into the afterlife, Dark Lord and all. Saves time. Wish the humans were like that. Although, for reasons that I don't fully understand, Archaon immediately encountered the same army he had just killed again. Guess that's the gimmick with undead creatures. But after killing them for a second time, they were a little bit more confident that they were not just dead, but dead, and no necromancer in the world was powerful enough to create undead, so we were fine from there. So now back to the destruction. You'll remember that I had a special arrangement with Sinch that would prevent the mortals from rebuilding anything I destroyed. That meant it was time for an orgy of non-refundable destruction, starting at Pfieldorf, which had been abandoned by the previously purged to protected humans. Archaon took some revenge on the Zombinis by destroying their graveyards, sucking the unlife from their remaining troops. Meanwhile, I marched south into the mountains to destroy some rather unfashionable district called Grimhold, controlled, for reasons unknown, by the Chilean pizza pushers. They seemed to get a little angry at this, as a spaghetti-scented army appeared beside Archaon, meatball sandwiching him between the Bolognese battalions and the dark land of the revolving door graves. Being an idiot, he decided to just traipse further into said dark land, knowing that the tortellini tossers wouldn't follow, but he failed to realise that all he was doing was sitting beside a rather large host of evil creatures and asking them to keep the noise down because he was hiding from his crazy ex-wife. Within moments, he was in exactly the deadly situation he had just fought tooth, nail, hair and appendix to get out of. So what happened? It's actually quite hard to recall. The enemy attacked my cavalry when I wasn't ready, and the rest of the army just stood around elsewhere having a chat. Did that really happen? No, but I'm sure Archaon went out in front of the army and got attacked by the boisterous bats and run over by a green reaper driving a hearse. But that can't be what happened. Why would the battle have gone like that? But the memories... All they tell me is that Archaon got slapped about by a ghoul wearing a hedgehog skin scarf, and his men just ignored it all, and then our army was routed in defeat, ending the career of my glorious horde of hunchback slave suckers. Can that be what happened? No, that's impossible. The army carried on after the fight. It can't have been. I think I know what's happening here. Hang on.
So what are we laughing at?
Hey! Get out of here. Get your own damn show. I'm sure some producer somewhere has a great script about a neat and a morbidly obese profiterole cosplayer who fight crime and learn the meaning of heart disease along the way.
I thought Adam Sandler was dead.
Well, it's scripts like that which will bring him back from the grave. So why don't you just focus on not being a pair of absolute tools?
Don't worry, Princey Ponce. I won't let this incident disturb you anymore.
My head. Wait, why am I at the door? What was that? Oh, Jehovah's, I think. I can't even... whatever. Where's my diary? Let's see what really happened. In reality, it was a rather normal fight, save for the presence of many airborne annoyances. Archaon and Brainy Boy teamed up to deal with their Dark Lord, and that random hearse they had driving about the place. I guess the local funeral director decided to drum up some more business for himself, developing new markets among crushed and soul-reaped demographics. The rest of the fight was just churning away, had my cav getting their spears stuck in there from behind like it was a festival of Catholic contraceptives, and gradually the shuffling hordes of darkness and dry skin were persuaded that self-destructing was a quick and easy solution to unlife's problems, leaving them even more dead than they were before. Hevold actually nearly died along the way, thanks to the enemy's basher bats going wild on him like he had a stash of pens that wrote upside down in his pockets, but overall, pretty good show. As a victory celebration, he destroyed the whole region, losing yet more men admittedly, but having a jolly good time along the way, and at the end of the world that's what really matters. I was off in some dreary mountains, flushing out humans from an old dwarven hold. Rather tedious work, but just put the headphones on and listen to some classic Tinny of Truth episodes, and the slaughterous swordplay passes by rather quickly. Archaon was in trouble yet again, though. The humans I'd given the Siggy Boy slip to earlier were after him now. He managed to escape, but then there began an endless chase that would last for some time. He sidled over to Averheim to breed some more bogans for his army. Sorry, don't know where I picked up that word from. But the humans hunted him down and did a little breeding themselves, almost doubling in number in the blink of an eye of chaos. He fled into the forests, but they still found him, and so he tried fleeing west towards the ruins of the old human capital. Then, being Archaon, he got assassinated, and was replaced by a rather touchy chap named Kolek, king of the dragons, or some such thing he claimed to be. More legs than the last guy, so I guess that helps with the running, especially as that big hammer he always carried was actually just a blow-up plastic toy. Oh, don't tell anyone though, he likes to pretend he's a serious lifter. Anyway, I was done sterilizing the mountain passes to the south and decided to come over to help my poor offspring out. Of course, I couldn't directly help them because of that random thing where if we got too close to each other, the air turned into a strange mix of liquid napalm and bottle rockets, with results that provided plenty of good eating but left our battle lines a little too well done. So I thought I'd just go give the Chilean general a taste of my level 100 speech skill, persuading him to kill himself by simply writing KYS on a piece of paper, handing it to him and saying, "Be a good lad and take care of this for me, would you?" But just before I arrived, they all rudely barged past my army and continued on after Thunderbuns, who galloped off into the forests to hide while I rushed up to give him a surgical glove-protected helping hand. Together we endured the firestorm of chaos energies to steamroll both of the enemy armies into a selection of pancakes ideal for that fussy member of the family who's so vegan they'll only eat metal. I even got far away enough afterwards to allay the onset of proximity punishments, but it turned out Kolek and co. had actually run themselves into a psychopathic swamp, presumably belching out bubbles of methane that quickly ignited on all the troops' victory cigars, causing yet more deaths among the increasingly rank ranks. Finally, he managed to stumble his way back to the road with only a few casualties to the Blair Witches local franchise members. He set up camp to start getting his whatsits and doodahs back in order, but it seems the Chaos Gods were not on this poor beast's side. Immediately, another random human army appeared from deeper into the swamp, covered in strange ooze that was later discovered to be mostly, well, best not mentioned really, but suffice to say the locals who called the place the Swamp of Contraception were onto something. So once again it looked like all my abhorrible followers were going to be slaughtered by those who rudely insisted on delaying the apocalypse. Getting used to it now, really. I'll be back in a moment, no doubt, to explain how we somehow won and continued on our way. As Kolak himself says, once you clip clop, you can't stop quaffing that slop. Not really sure why he says that.